What's going on? My name is Daniel Mullany, and behind the camera is Caitlin Yates. Today we're going to be filming a video source inspection for Sitek Process Solutions. Today we're going to be viewing two fully refurbished 870F Semitool Spin Rinser Dryers. These are double stacks, capable of running up to 6-inch substrates. The PO number for this guy is 6, and it's going to be shipping to the San Jose Bay Area. This system is not only fully refurbished, but is also decked out with our new state-of-the-art touchscreen controllers. As you can see, they're amazing. These controllers are capable of totally enhancing the existing Semitool hardware. They're plug and play to the 101 controller, and they allow a ton more features, from nitrogen purge saving to enhanced troubleshooting and additional component monitoring, such as the N2 heater and the anti-static. They really can't be beat. Before I continue on about these awesome tools, let's get them running. Nitrogen's purging in, that's good. Another purge, that's good. All right. You look good on both of these. The rotors that will actually be shipping with this tool are not ready yet. Our customer is just getting their fab up and running, and they haven't had a firm decision about which cassettes they're going to use. The rotors have to be built specifically to the cassette in order to ensure a nice smooth ride. So here we're just going to be running some balanced rotors that we have in stock. So both systems are ready. Start with the top one right there. Looking good. Start with the bottom one right there. Even better. Here we have our second double stack. I would like to run this guy simultaneously, but unfortunately we have a lot of equipment in here right now, and all 4 of these heads are hooked up to the same nitrogen source, and it starves the feed for all of them when you run them at the same time. And that's actually a great thing that I want to bring up right now, is understanding how to install your SRDs properly. SRDs use up a bit of nitrogen during their process cycle. That's the only way to get nice, clean, dry wafers, is you have to have a ton of nitrogen blown into the chamber, nice and hard and hot, in order to get your substrates dry. The spinning is really going to help sling a lot of the majority of the water off, but you really need that firm, blowing, hot nitrogen to give your substrates a nice, clean, uniform dry and set you up for the next stage in your device manufacturing process. So, the point of that is that when you're hooking up your SRDs, make sure you have enough nitrogen flow. You're going to want to make sure that you maintain from your main feed a 1/4-inch line the whole way. That's going to be from your main feed to your regulator and to your SRD. Another thing is you want to make sure that your regulator has a wide enough orifice in it as well. If you find that your regulator closes off your total flow to lower than a 1/4-inch ID, that would be the ID of the 3/8-inch tube that I just talked about, you're going to be starving your SRDs, and you're going to get bugged with nitrogen errors all day long. It's not a proper installation, and you need to do a better job than that. So, taking a look at our SRDs right now, you can see that the controllers are working perfectly, the SRDs are working perfectly, and we're currently in dry 1 right now. As I mentioned before, dry 1 is the high RPM dry time. It's going to sling the majority of the water off the substrates. After we get done with dry 1, it's about 40 seconds left here, we're going to be going into dry 2. Dry 2, we're going to slow it down. We're going to take a long time here, about 3.5 minutes. And we're going to spend that time running at a lower RPM with the hot nitrogen. Now, the purpose of that is particle counts. So, in order to keep particle counts low in your SRD, you want to run for the shortest amount of time at the lowest RPM. A lot of studies have shown that the best way to do that is to first spin really fast to sling the water off, then spin slower and let the N2 heating elements finish off the dry time. So you get a nice combination of speed and time in the SRD chamber. So as I was just talking about now, we've just dropped down into dry 2, which is the lower RPM. This one's actually set up for 300 seconds, so running some quick math, that's 5 minutes. Not really a long cycle, but sufficient to keep the substrates dry. So, looks like we've got a little time to kill. I'd like to take this time to review our refurbishment process. So our refurbishment process is the most in-depth in the semiconductor marketplace. For every SRD that we sell, we're going to break the thing down to the component level, completely disassembled. From there, we're going to individually test all the components for function. We're going to replace certain components automatically, and we're going to rebuild another set of components automatically. That really just depends on what type of component it is. A good example would be an ACR valve. That's going to be something that we're going to break down as well and replace the poppet, replace the spring, and build it back up. So now we have a refurbished valve that's functioning like new. It's the way that we save costs that we like to pass on to the customer to enjoy our high-quality refurbished products at a great price. Once the SRD has been prepped, we're going to build up the single head assemblies themselves. So you have the head assembly alone out of this double stack configuration, and you're going to build it up just alone right there. Once we build that up, then we're going to configure it into the double stack that you see in front of you. And that's pretty straightforward as well. We have the frame completely electropolished and clean, chemically clean. We have new poly skins cut, and we load the SRD heads in, level them, angle them properly to the front face plates, and throw the skins on there. Once we have the SRD fully configured, we're going to bring it into our final test area, which is where we are now. And in here is where we're going to film great video source inspections for you, the customer, to enjoy and ensure that your SRDs or any other equipment we sell are exactly what you expected prior to shipment. Take a look here. We have about 160 seconds left. Great. So along that manufacturing process, we also have in-depth quality control built in. Throughout the whole process, we're going to be ensuring that everything about the SRD is built up to standard. We have jigs to ensure the spacing's right. We're going to electrically test all the components. We're going to do dry testing. We're going to do wet testing. We're going to have quality at the source throughout the entire manufacturing process to ensure that by the time I'm filming this video, these tools are running the exact same way that they're supposed to run when they arrive at your site. They are going to be plug and play, and you are going to be very satisfied with how they work. So, 2 more minutes. I will take this time to discuss some of the other offerings that we have for Semitool SRDs. First and foremost, we've got every spare part you need. That's going to be windows, door seals, motors, amps, controllers, whoosy-doos, whoosy-don'ts, rotor stop positioners, tack sensors, and any other part your SRD might need. 100% of the parts that your SRD needs to keep up and running properly. We also have every service that you might need. That would be motor repairs, amp repairs, rotor rebalancing, controller repairs, custom poly work. Anything that you need to keep your tool up and running, we are the one-stop shop for it. Okay, looks like we have about 75 seconds left before we can inspect the wafers in both of these head assemblies. So that really sums up what we can do for the SRD in terms of standard products. We can also offer a variety of awesome custom products for you. Let's say you are tasked with finding a way to increase the throughput on some 2-inch by 3.5-inch rectangle glass substrates. And you're currently running them single at a time with hand dippers and using a nitrogen gun to blow them off after your wet bench. It's something that we see all the time. What we can do is design a custom cassette for you. That can be made out of PFA or PVDF, and it can be suited to use with handles. It can be compatible with your wet bench, and then we're also going to build a custom rotor for it. So when you're done using your wet bench process, whether it's acids, solvents, or otherwise, you'll take it to the quick dump rinser and throw it right into our SRD with a custom rotor that is built to run your product. You just went from manually processing single substrates to running full batches through your own existing equipment. It's a great way to increase throughput. We have a lot of experience in that. And if you have any questions about that, please give us a call. 916-797-9000. And to reach me directly, dial extension 2201. So taking a look here, and the source inspection on this side is looking great. Going to take a moment now to open up. The N2 is purging in hot, which is exactly what we want. The cassette is nice and warm. and the substrates are dry and ready for the next step in your wafer manufacturing process. You may also notice a little bit of water in the bowl. That's what we want. By having the rotor and cassette and substrates dry, but a tiny bit of water in the bowl, we know that we have dried our product, but we haven't bone dried the chamber, which can lead to higher particle counts. Now, feeling into the bottom chamber, this one also is purging in hot, which is exactly what we want. And the cassette and substrates are dry and ready for the next step in the manufacturing process. Let's run it back over on this tool. Okay, the N2 over here is purging in, but it's basically ambient now because we've been running runs on these, but I haven't run this tool maybe for about an hour. So the nitrogen's been purging in and is now cooled down the heater element. This guy looking pretty normal. This gal also looking normal. Okay. And while we're here, let's take a minute to show how easy it is to use our touchscreen controllers. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that back, and we're going to run these SRDs, which is boring to watch, and I'll move over to that tool and give some training on the controller. That way we can make a good use of your time. So, run on the first head. Water's flowing in. Controller looks correct. We're looking good. Second head. Water's flowing in. Ramping up looks normal. That's great. Taking a look back here. Everything looks great as well. All right, so let's take a trip. Let's take a look at this bottom controller. So here we have our state-of-the-art proprietary S1 SlickDevice controller. This thing is slick. First off, when you come into the recipe screen, you're going to have password protection. That way, you don't have people coming through trying to mess with the SRD and running the wrong recipe and causing issues with your lot that you don't know where it happened. It's all zeros to start. And now here's how you change a recipe. Say I want to change the rinse time from 60 seconds to 80 seconds. Change and save. It's as simple as that. I can also alter multiple recipes by flipping between them, and take a shortcut going the back way right here. Here we have auto cycle. And we also have what we call our best known recipes. The best known recipes are going to be what we suggest that you use for a recipe if you don't have one set yet. Now, this isn't going to be exactly the best recipe for you in the end. That's really going to be a function of how many wafers you're running at a time, how hydrophobic or philic are they, and what your nitrogen flow ends up being on your specific unit. It also depends on how dry you need the chamber to be in order to have a successful product run. But this is a great spot to start. We've refurbished over 2,000 head assemblies, and we use our expertise to give you a suggestion here. Okay. Now coming back to the process here, let's take a look at our alarm screen. Now that is much easier than the 101 controller. Here we see that we have resistivity probe, clearly labeled, the door seal, the bowl heater, the anti-static, the rotor stop positioner, N2 heater, motor intact. It's all so much clearer. We know exactly what's failed just by looking at the screen here versus having some confusing alarm that shows up on the lettering for the 101. You can also initiate a maintenance mode right here. So this lets people know that there is a maintenance that needs to happen on this head, and they shouldn't be running it. Okay? So let's go now to our menu. Now here we have some awesome features. I'm going to start off by going into my favorite, manual mode. Here in manual mode, we have so much more flexibility of upkeep for the SRD. First and foremost, you have the ability to manually actuate any of the items you see here. I could go through each screen one at a time. They're all quite in depth, but on this all manual screen, I have the best of each screen kind of mashed into one. This is my go-to spot whenever I'm troubleshooting SRDs. And here, we can turn on any item one at a time to ensure it's working right. It also has lockouts, though, to make sure you don't hurt yourself. For example, if I try to turn on the N2 heater without the dry on, I get a warning. It says, you cannot turn on the N2 heater without nitrogen flow. That's to make sure you don't burn up your heater. So, turning on the nitrogen flow, I can now turn on the heater. It's consuming 3 amps right there, and so we know that our heater is working properly. So we can also run the motor, we can turn on the rinse, we can seal the door. So this is a great screen for all troubleshooting. Another great screen is our heaters and anti-static. So currently on the existing 101, the tool does not monitor the heater or the anti-static. And that was a huge oversight by Semitool. First, the anti-static is critical to maintaining particle counts at the source. When that item fails and you don't realize it, particles can be attracted to your Teflon cassette after high RPM spinning. It'll continually raise particle counts, and you'll be chasing your tail around the fab trying to figure out exactly what tool is causing these high particles, especially when an item like bad anti-static will have inconsistent results on your high particles. So you might get bad results, come to the SRD, do a run, and it all checks out. Well, now you're still chasing your tail, even though you checked a box that was the source of your issues. Another item would be the N2 heater, like we just talked about. The N2 heater is currently not monitored on the SRD. So if your N2 heater fails, then what's going to happen? Your operator is going to arbitrarily say that they think the cassette is not as warm as it normally is. That is a terrible way to maintain a consistent process in an environment as specific and touchy as a wafer fab. So we add a circuitry in here to monitor the N2 heater and let you know the minute that your nitrogen heater is bad. It's the most important drying mechanism, and there's no way it should not be monitored. Now, I think I might have lied a minute ago, because my favorite is not manual mode. Manual mode's awesome, but my favorite is the nitrogen purge saver. It's a really simple item here that, when turned on, like I just did, shuts the nitrogen off in idle once you remove the product from the chamber. And I cannot emphasize how crucial this innovation is. The current SRD is purging 1.35 CFM of nitrogen in idle at all times. By turning on this purge saver, we're going to cut out 1.05 CFM at all times spent in idle. Now, the majority of SRDs spend 80% of their life in idle. When you take the typical cost of about $0.33 to $0.50 cents per cubic foot of nitrogen in a fab, you're looking at a couple $1,000s in savings just on the nitrogen savings. And that's not to mention if your fab happens to pay a little bit higher in nitrogen. If you find that you're paying over $0.50 cents for nitrogen, upgrading to this controller is an absolute no-brainer. It will pay for itself in 2 years, not to mention if it catches one issue that would have swept under the radar with the 101s, then it has hands down paid for itself with all the labor, time, and uncertainty tied to troubleshooting something such as particles that you can't see with the naked eye. So it's really straightforward. It turns off the purge in idle and saves you money. And the last item on here that we can take a quick look at would be our data logging screen. So this is great. You simply put in the date that you want to see for all the runs that you had, and you can see how your tool is run. You can see how many lots ran through, any errors that happened. It's a great way to, if you do have any issues with your tool, take a look back, see how many runs were done, what errors happened, and see if you can start putting a pattern together for the issues. And we just nailed that timing. Let's head back to the other SRD. First head is done. So I'll show you guys something real quick too. Yellow, idle. Green, processing. Blue, process complete. Red, errors. So Nitrogen's purging and hot. It's exactly what we want. The cassette and substrates are perfectly dry. Next chamber, cassette and N2 is purging and hot, and cassette and substrates are perfectly dry. So, I'd like to thank you for taking time to view our video source inspection for today. It's been a blast. Again, my name is Daniel Mullany, and I filmed this video source inspection for Sitek Process Solutions and for our customer located in the Bay Area. If you have any more questions about our product offerings, please either visit our website at www.sitekprocess.com, S-I-T-E-K process.com, or give us a call at 916-797-9000. And to reach me directly, dial extension 2201. Thank you.